and then I'll cut it. Hello, people. My name is Mohini Dey, and you're watching my very own talk show, What a Melophile Wants. I want to thank each one of you out there for showing so much love and support to my talk show, to my artists, to me. And we just hit number 27 with this very episode. So, pat on my back for all the consistency and the work, which I'm not good at. So, pat on my back for that. And congratulations to us for doing so many episodes with such amazing artists. And today, I'm honored to have somebody very, very special who I know and have worked with. Who is an Indian classical flautist, film composer, music arranger, producer, singer, poet, and a man of many more talents. One that I know of is comedy and his pun-intended jokes that one will never fail to laugh at. He's someone that I have worked with, and he has worked with some amazing world-renowned musicians such as Nitin Sawhney, A.R. Rahman, Anushka Shankar, Joss Stone, Lata Mangeshkar, Ghulam Ali, Sonu Nigam, and the list just goes on. So many more. It's impossible to describe his wide range of tremendous amount of work that he has done in the music industry. So I have him virtually in person with me today. I've known him for over, I think, 8 years. It brings me immense joy, and it's such an honor to have you. Please welcome the amazing Ashwin Srinivasan. Thank you so much for coming on my show, Ashwin.
Thank you. Thank you for even considering me worthy enough of being here amidst all such luminaries that you've already had on your show. And yeah, I wish you luck. I wish you show number 2700 to the power 2700.
Then I got to find more people. Oh my God. No. When I was doing this talk show, I already had a list of people, and you were like in the list. You were ranking like fourth, fifth, and I was like, no, I need to have you because you're so talented, and I love your creative ideation and the amount of work that you have done in the music industry. It can't be expressed in words. So I needed to have you on my show and needed my listeners to hear it from your own self, So
I'm most honored. Thank you.
yes. Yes. Is it a bit little? I know it's a little surreal to get interviewed by me because it's odd because we talk like normally and now I'm going to interview you. So I know it's a little bit odd.
Talk now instead.
Yeah, this is a conversation. It's going to be a fun one, I know already. In my earlier episodes, what I like to do is I've always talked about different kinds of subjects, which is individuality, which transforms with time, and we kind of adapt to it, and like evolvement, development, and so many other things like companionship, leadership, and other things. So, and past few episodes, I've been talking to a few artists, and I've been asking them of what this element that is in our life is something that we're all a part of, and it stands always in our ups and downs, wherever we are, whatever we are doing, it's always there, which is music, and we feel this restlessness and helplessness all the time. At least for me, I feel restless if music is not playing in the house, or if I'm not with my instrument, or if I don't have something in my hand. Like, I would want that. I want to ask you, and I want you to tell my listeners, how did music happen to you? And I know probably you've answered this a million times, but there are international listeners that I want you to tell them. I want you to tell them about your journey and how music happened to you, and just a little bit about how much weight does it hold in your life.
Well, that's about all the weight I have actually.
Good one.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, because no, I mean, I'm being honest with you. I'm not even being trying to be funny here. But you know what? Like you said, it does make us restless, and I kind of I totally agree with you in my own way actually.
Yeah.
Because truly speaking, without music, I don't know if we were just wondering. My wife and I, we were thinking, especially after all this lockdown and everything. I said, I'm so thankful I'm in this profession because I don't even know what I would do if this wasn't there.
Correct.
And it became a profession. I'm going to backtrack from here.
Yeah.
I don't even know when it became a profession because I practically started getting paid work since I was, I think, 11. So as a musician, so I mean, it never felt like a profession at all ever.
Let's go down to the roots. How did you pick up flute, first of all? That's a very unusual instrument. Just like bass is an unusual instrument to pick up, flute is also an unusual instrument to pick up at first out of all the instruments. So how did that happen? When and how?
Well, I used to learn sitar from my mother. My mother's a sitar player. She used
Yes,
to work
I
with
know
All
that. Yeah,
India.
you told me
So,
one
yeah.
time. Yeah.
So I started playing sitar since I think I was 2.5, 3. She got me a baby sitar first,
Oh
and then
wow.
she introduced me to her teacher, and I learned a few lessons from him, who happens to be one of the senior most students. He's no more now, but of Pandit Ravi Shankarji.
Hmm.
So Pandit Ravi Shankarji, senior most. My mother used to learn from him in Bangalore,
Right. Uh-huh.
and I went to a few classes with him, and then I injured my finger, my index finger, and
Okay.
for about a month it was I still have a gash here on my index finger.
Oh.
So yeah, so I mean it was almost a month where I couldn't do my riyaz, and I still
Oh.
tried to play with my second finger and the ring finger, and I still couldn't
Right.
manage it.
Okay.
At some point, I think I got bored of it. I don't know. And then, as they say, some people call it destiny, but I don't know what it was. My dad happened to go to one of these pilgrimages where he got back a fiddle flute, one of
Oh,
those in ones to
just
play
one random day.
devotional music. Yeah, and he came back over the weekend. He was off, and he came back and he gave me this. He had no use for it because he is a natural musician.
Right.
He actually could pick up any instrument, practically any instrument. He doesn't understand melody, harmony in the traditional sense of the word. I mean, but he is an amazing singer. Even now at 72, when he sings, it's just, it's one of those things when some people just, they only know feel, they only know honesty, they
Right.
don't know technique, they don't know, the
They
real
sing
deal of,
because they love.
yeah. He used to pick up my mom's sitar and he would randomly play melodies, and that's how he played the mouth organ very, very beautifully. He had a chromatica with him, which he somehow figured out the flats and the sharps, and he would play melodies on that.
Crazy.
And he gave me this fiddle flute. He said, I'm busy with my work, and you can maybe use it. And I picked it up like a toy.
Right.
And in no time, because it was fiddle, the sound production wasn't really an issue. So I
Right.
started playing melodies on it, and before I knew it, I was kind of practically playing everything. I didn't know sa, re, ga, the typical do, re, mi, fa of Indian music,
Yeah. Yeah.
but which I knew on the sitar, but I didn't know the actual positions on the
On the
bansuri.
flute. Yeah.
But I instinctively would change scales to fit the minor or the major, and if for those who don't know, the bansuri's natural scale is a major scale if played from the bottom position. I mean, that's just a saying. If I play from the traditional position, which we
Okay.
now know in the classical music, bansuri,
Hmm.
it would give us what's that with a sharp five? What's the scale with a sharp five? Major scale with a five raised five? Is that Lydian?
Major
Da,
scale or minor
da,
scale?
da, 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 da. So it's a Lydian scale, right? Lydian mode.
Lydian. Yeah. Yaman. No.
Yeah, Yaman. So that's what we get, and somehow it kind of just seeped into me, if I should say that.
Right.
And between ages 5 and I think 7 or something, I was just faffing around, if I can say that.
Mm.
And then my family thought, especially my grandfather and my father, they said, this is not done. He needs to actually learn. I mean, they asked me one final question. They said, "Are you interested in sitar or flute?" I said flute because it was easy. I could just take it anywhere. I could just have it on my
Easy
in
to
my
travel
pocket,
with.
and
Yeah.
yeah. And even while I'd go out to play with my friends, I'd just sit there in one corner and keep playing my tunes.
Right.
So then they said, okay, you need to learn classical music, and that's the only way you'll get a sense of discipline.
Right.
So I started learning classical music from my teacher in Hyderabad, and later on, I would just follow Pandit Hari Prasad Charosia's cassettes, and basically,
Mm.
it started off from there. And the theory part, of course, my mother would constantly guide me
Yeah.
also, and yeah, that's how this happened, if I can say.
So this was around the age of like when you were 7, 8.
It's 7, 8, 7, 8.
Yeah, figured.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So when did you know, like, because that's a very tender age to know that you want to do it professionally, like for the rest of your life, right? But did you
Hmm.
know that? Because for some people, you just know, like, no, you want to do this for the rest of your life professionally.
Well, for the longest time, I didn't really know there was something called profession.
Profession.
All I knew was, most of my family folks, all my elders, they would go to a typical 9 to 5 job and
Right.
they would come back. So, in spite of my uncles being professional musicians, they were all India radio artists. They were like
Right.
staff musicians at All
Yeah.
India Radio. So, all I knew was you had to go to a 9 to 5 job, and it never struck me that this is something that I could make a living out of. But
Yeah.
I always felt that I didn't want to do anything else. I always knew that I didn't want to do
Okay.
anything else.
Okay. That's cool.
And yeah, and much as I was interested in a lot of physics, and my father was an engineer, so he would
Mm.
teach me, on the job. He would just constantly talk to me about the terminologies, and I knew
Mm.
physics, chemistry right
Yeah.
off the bat. Before I actually started off in school, for me, I
Right.
already was conversant with the language, and
And
mathematics was very
yeah.
strong for
Right. I know that. Oh God.
me.
Remind me of stories.
Yeah.
But talking about that, so this learning experience, this learning process, where were you in this time? Which city were you in?
We were jumping between Bangalore, mostly South India, Bangalore,
Ah,
Hyderabad,
yeah.
and a couple of other cities. And then finally, my dad settled down in Bangalore. He found a
Right.
job where he was very happy with, and we settled
Right.
down there in Bangalore.
And you started performing around there in the south?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Before that, because I was a child artist, so I was already an all India radio artist by
Right.
then. By 11, I think I got my first radio recording on,
Oh wow.
and then there was this Ramakrishna mission in Bangalore,
Huh.
and a friend of mine, you must know Praveen Rao from
Yes,
Bangalore.
yes. The piano player, right?
Yeah, well, he's a composer, but
Keyboard.
at that time he was a tabla player.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, he took me. He was 20 and I was around 10, I think 10 or 11. I don't know. And
Oh.
he took me to this place. He said they've inaugurated this new sound system and they want to check it. So if you want to come and play. Since I can remember, I always had this habit of closing my eyes while playing.
Oh.
So I started off playing. There was nobody in the auditorium. It was like a 1,000-seater auditorium. And then there was this
Right.
sermon that was going to happen later in the day, which I didn't know about.
Hmm.
When I finished after about 45 minutes of playing, I just opened my eyes and the hall was full. People had quietly walked in and they were just listening to me. And then I
Was
was
that
taken
the
to,
was that the first big thing that happened to you?
well, if I can remember it that way, yes, yes,
Yeah. So
yes,
that was like a big turning point where you realized that, oh, that actually makes me feel good,
yeah, yeah. And the applause and then the attention and then, a
Right.
few people actually coming backstage to talk to you. And I was
Good.
still in my shorts and shirt. I wasn't even prepared for a concert. It was just nothing. For
Oh,
me, I was just, we just went out to have fun, and
right,
it happened that
right,
way. And then yes, the slow inquiries started happening, and I
right,
started playing.
right. What made you have this move from South to Mumbai?
That was always the idea. Something about something. I think I spent my past life here in Mumbai. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, I'd never been to this city, but
You
since
always
I
wanted
was
to
a
be
kid,
here.
I always wanted to be here. I knew, that there
Why?
was
Because
something
of
that
the
happened.
city life or because of
No,
the
no, no, no. I mean,
Bollywood
all
or
anyway, Chennai and Bangalore and Hyderabad are all very, very good cities, big cities. But
yeah, but you know what people say about Mumbai is it's like the work city. If you can make it here, then you can make it anywhere. It's
no,
like
no, no, no.
that
I hadn't
here.
heard any of that. I hadn't heard any of that. I was too young for all that. Something
Yeah.
about the name, really caught my fancy. I
Ah,
think, I don't know. And I thought if I go there, something, I could do something big. And I'd already seen musicians like Pandit Ravi Shankar, Pandit Hari Prasad
right,
Jarasya ji, Zakir Hussain ji, or U. Srinivasan. All these people were my idols.
right.
And,
Like your
you
major
know,
influences.
yeah. And as luck would have it, I got this. There was this, I'd applied for a scholarship, which was by the Ministry of Government of India.
Yeah, I was going to
And
come to that actually. I was going to ask you. So you were always taking lessons from your dad and your mother, right? And
yeah,
then when you switched to flute, uh, did you self-teach yourself or did you go to
no,
somebody
I
to
went.
learn?
I went to my first guru was in Hyderabad, where they decided to send me to a proper classical music
Right,
teacher.
right, right.
And Praveen Godkhindi, if you know, you must have heard of Praveen Godkhindi, the flautist from Bangalore. His
Okay,
father taught me. Venkatesh Godkhindi ji taught me.
okay.
He really handheld me into the instrument. He just, this is the finger position. This is how you produce a sound. The
Right.
very first, he gave me the big E bass concert flute, which I was finding it difficult to hold. So he said, no, you just try to produce the sound out of it. So he taught me embouchure technique. He taught me a few things, and then within the week, I just somehow the sound happened. As they say, it was destiny, I guess.
Yeah, it
So
was
the
you were
sound,
destined to do that.
yeah, and I was quick to pick up ragas because that training was already there
Right,
at home.
right. So it kind of helped.
Yeah, and then yeah, well, that's how it happened really. And Venkatesh Godkhindi ji, and then in Bangalore, again, Godkindi got transferred to Delhi, so we had to move to Bangalore, and then I went to another teacher, one Mr. Shenoy, Pandit Shenoy, and under him I learned for about 3 to 4 years regularly, and he would teach me a lot of
Wow.
the intricacies of Indian classical
Yeah,
music.
all the nuances and the intricate
Yeah,
details of
yeah. And
that.
I think 16 or 15 around which I started playing sessions. That was a world I didn't know about, and somehow somebody gave my number to somebody, and then they called, and I thought, okay, some studio, I don't know what it is, because I only
Right.
seen all India radio studios. So I
Right.
started this place, and there were these incredible musicians from where I picked up harmony.
Oh,
Just
so
watching
while you
them.
were on the run, while you were on the fly, you kind of picked up also.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
So
Yeah, same
and
with me actually. Same with me. Like when I started playing with Ranjit Uncle, I mean, I
yeah,
knew there were odd time signatures, but then when you actually start playing with a drummer, especially from a bass player point of view, it's like, oh my god, it can be that also. you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
which is mad. Yeah, but I think that's the best learning to learn on the fly and to have the
Yeah,
right people around you. And that's I think everybody that I've played with, I think it's the same for you as well. Like everybody that you
yeah,
have played with, you have picked up something, I guess.
yeah, yeah. Totally, totally.
I've personally always loved your creative ideation and your arrangement and the harmony sense you have being a flautist. It's like incredible. Like that's very rare and very unusual. So I want to
Yeah.
know what made you start having this very modern, unique touch on your writing. When you're writing songs, or when you have this, I don't know if you have an ultimate direction when you're writing something, or when you're writing for somebody or for yourself. But what is your ideation? What do you look for, when you're writing?
Two things. One is from a very technical point of view. One is I always want to be able to listen to the song, the final song in my head before I start.
Right. Right.
And that is like it's like a painter trying to paint a picture. And if you have if you can visualize that, then it's very easy to write. Writing is just an execution process.
Right.
And while that process is going on, you discover happy accidents, as they say.
Right.
And yeah, and that is most important. And secondly, I try to uh, as far as possible stick to honesty.
Yeah.
If
What makes you
anything,
feel good?
yeah, if it feels contrived, if it feels manufactured, I stay away from it. I kind of, I
But
mean, so
since
it's so easy for us to write 11s and 15s and 13s and all that,
yeah,
but so often just a simple triad can actually work, you
people
know.
are not going to dance to that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, even that, and if it doesn't come naturally, if the 11th really works, then it works. It
It
works
works.
beautifully. But if it
Oh,
really
you were
doesn't
talking
work,
about that. You were talking about add-on chord changes. I thought you were talking about odd time signatures like polyrhythms.
oh well, polyrhythms were part of my initiation anyway. My discipline
Yeah.
itself has, and also my uncles at home are also Carnatic musicians, very established Carnatic
Right.
musicians.
Right.
So the Carnatic rhythm structure was already ingrained, if I can say that. I
Yeah. In
mean,
your
as a
foundation, it already existed. Yeah.
yeah, you see, around everybody you see around you is generally in music. They're doing
Right.
something or the other. One is a
Right.
violin player, somebody singing Carnatic, my mother's playing sitar, so there is Hindustani.
Everybody has
All
their own
these
interpretation. Yeah.
signatures, yeah, and we are initiated into it that way. We
Correct.
are
Correct.
already
And
to recognize beats and time and odd and off and everything. So, like notes, the rhythmic side to it is I mean it's pre-baked, if I can say that. That's
yeah.
how I can remember it. I can't
Yeah.
remember
True. True.
learning.
True. But since you do a lot of work for films, movies, and I'm sure jingles as well, there is a certain kind of direction that a person has who wants you to do the work. So that time, what do do you get kind of like a lot of the times what happens is when we are writing our own music also, then we kind of think that, oh, I don't know how people are going to take this, or are people going to is the local crowd going to understand that? What if
Mhm,
it's not taken the right way, and what if it's too much, or all these kind of things.
mhm, mhm,
And then you end up not doing what feels right to you,
mhm,
and you end
mhm.
up doing something that is needed for that
To
job.
be honest, every time I did that, it has backfired on me.
Yeah.
So I learned this from Nitin, especially Nitin Sawhney, and studying other composers. My favorite ones being R.D. Burman,
Yes.
Ennio Morricone, uh, uh, um, um, uh, John Williams, and of course Rahman sir. All these people, as a child, when I started studying their music, like subconsciously, I was trying to understand what's going
Right.
on. The biggest common factor was they never thought of these things.
Mm.
If you're composing for a production house or for a director, for example, then
Mm.
I like him to explain his vision to me in his language. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want somebody telling me, I'm hearing guitar on this, or I'm hearing tabla on this. I don't want them to try and blend in
But
with me.
that happens, no, in today's times.
It invariably does. So what I do is I
Yeah.
kind of gel with them. I try to. Most
Huh.
often I try to. And
Yeah.
there are the odd ones anyway. But
Correct.
for most of it, I try to gel with them and try to talk. And that is the big reason why I learned filmmaking also.
Right.
Because I wanted to understand the language of the camera. I wanted to understand the language of the script, language of the story, so that if I get a visual reference, so that is from Nitin, of course. Nitin Sawhney always wrote music with the visual in mind.
Right.
Whether or not he wrote music for visuals, he always kept a storyline and almost like a screenplay, like
Right.
a storyboard
Like
in
a
mind.
sketch. Yeah.
Yeah, and not literally, but yes, he would have like an idea
Yeah.
for the
Like a
sketch.
rough, raw
Yeah, so
ideas. Yeah.
he would invariably think up these post-apocalyptic worlds, or stuff like that, where visually then you're able to sonically produce that vision through
Yeah.
the music, which is why the sound is
Digest
so
that. Yeah.
cinematic
Yeah.
always.
Mm. Correct.
And that is something he taught me. So I would invariably try and, when I'm talking to my directors, I talk to them about what they have for the vision,
Right.
and then try and sonify it. If there's a word like that, I would try
Right.
and do that and
Yeah.
see if it sticks. Because if it doesn't, I mean, you have to. Every single project is
Correct.
that you throw a few
Correct.
and then you
It
something
depends on
sticks.
circumstances and situations, and also
So
reading people's mind.
most definitely, it's
Mhm.
all about psychology and it's all about
Yeah.
emotions, isn't it? Music
Yeah.
should be about emotions than
Totally,
anything else.
totally, totally. Great answer.
So,
Now talking about that, when you're in different kinds of setups, because we are always hopping in and out of like different kinds of situations. One is
mm.
probably scripted, one is not, one is totally free. Sometimes no rehearsals. We kind of just go and play. Those kind of situations. How much of your playing, especially solos, is completely improvised over chops and patterns that you have say worked out before? And if it's both, then how do you keep that balance?
uh it might sound a little odd, but I never worked out chops.
Never.
Honestly, I'm very bad at having chops. I don't have chops. I
I
like
feel
to
everybody
I
has like something, no, like that feels good to you, and you want to initiate that.
No, this is what teach my students also. I like the spontaneity,
Hmm.
and I like good accidents. I like bad accidents too. Ranjit sir always said, there is no such
Yeah.
thing as a bum note or a wrong note in music.
Right. Right.
It's about what you react. So if you are so in tune with your instrument,
Oh.
you will understand this of all people, because you have literally your instrument is an extension of yourself. It's
I
not
think
like you're
I
picking
have.
up.
I think
Yes.
for personally, for me, I think I have switches in my head. Like if
Mhm.
I am, like for example, last year I was touring with this Japanese band, so I
Mhm.
have a switch where I had to be completely scripted. Like I cannot improvise at all. It's all written
Yeah.
stuff. I have to be just that, which is
Yeah.
which was very challenging for me because as an Indian who is always, so spontaneous and always been in those kind of situations where it's all about spontaneity and free and all
Yeah.
this freedom of doing whatever you feel like, and then going into a situation where you can't do that, and
Mhm.
your solos
Mhm.
have to be written out and your solos have to be the same every single night. So I feel like I've kind of trained myself enough where I can switch on and off when I
Yeah.
have to be and when I don't have to be.
Yeah.
But of course I enjoy the freedom more than anything.
Mm.
Everybody does,
So
I
we do
guess.
have our moments, don't we? We do have our moments. We have those eye contact moments on stage where
Yes,
I
yes.
know
Like
that
even
you've
with
taken off.
AR, like
Yeah,
even
of
with
course.
AR, when you
Yeah.
there is there are so many songs where you are playing your solos and those are evergreen solos. You can't change them. Like it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
there and people want to hear that only.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
and that is going to feel the way that does and nothing else will feel that way.
See, with scripted stuff, I think you must also at some point be emotionally invested with that music, so that
Totally, yeah, to
otherwise
be
it's
with
very
Feat.
difficult
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah, it's not just notes, yeah.
Yeah, and also with non-scripted stuff or unscripted stuff, invariably what I like to do is I like to throw caution to the wind. I mean, I want to listen to the sound that's playing unifiedly,
Yes.
and listen out for those harmonic shapes.
Yeah.
But I don't follow shapes on the instrument. I listen out for shapes which are possible. So
Beautiful.
if you're looking at a circle, then a circle could mean a million different things melodically.
Totally. There can be
Each
so
have
many
different meaning.
possibilities. Yeah. Yeah.
Or if
With
you're
me,
a
I
poly,
am always listening to, from a bass player point of view, I'm always listening to the kick. And
yeah,
sometimes, drummers will do stuff. It's funny because I've played with so many different kinds of drummers, heavy metal drummer, funk drummer, pop drummer, this and that. And Ranjit Uncle is so fusion, and he does so many things with his kick. And I love
I,
that, I love the kick. I would probably live in the kick and die in the
I,
kick. So when I'm playing with him, I'm only listening to the kick, and that kind of becomes my bass line.
so, yeah,
And sometimes he'll do things here and there, and that will become my improvisation. And now,
yeah,
as a musician, you have to figure out to put it to notes and put it to time and phrasing.
yeah.
That's your foundation. But yeah, it's so amazing that there are so many possibilities that one can do in
Oh
different
yes,
kinds of situations with different kind of people as well.
yeah, yeah.
You might not have the same idea when you're playing with a different bass player, and when you're playing
No,
with me, you'll get
true.
some idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you that kind of person who likes to warm up until an hour before the show starts, or are you that kind of person who does not touch your instrument after the sound check is over and just like on stage you bang and boom, rock it?
Uh, Never consciously given that a thought, but most often I've landed up not touching the instrument after sound check.
Okay.
And even during sound check, I don't really play. I mean, my sound check takes what, 30 seconds, maybe a minute. So
Yeah,
that's
true, true,
how I
true.
play. Much as I stay on stage for almost as long as the sound check is going on, but
True.
I don't really play much. And but I'm constantly playing in my mind. I'm constantly uh,
Yeah,
riffing or doing something in my mind where
something.
I'm just close practicing without the instrument. I do all of that, and yeah,
Right.
that is more like it.
Yeah, I think I've become that person now. For the
Mm.
past 2 3 years, I've become that person who does not like to touch the instrument after sound check at all.
You
Because
want it to surprise you, you want it to surprise you
yeah,
at some point.
exactly. I wanted to play me, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Um,
yeah.
you've got a great pocket, and that's very unusual for a flautist. Even for pianists, keyboard players, it's mostly the bass players, drummers who have great pocket. But you've got a great pocket, and now I get a lot of questions asked in my master classes workshops that how do I develop a good solid time feel from a flautist point of view? Because I know there are a lot of people out there who play the flute and they want to know how to improve their approach towards phrasing, improve their approach towards being in the pocket. How would you do that?
Technically, two things I think helped me. One is listening to a lot of rhythm music like tabla or Carnatic percussion, or even drummers for that matter.
Yeah.
People like Kolayuta, Chambers. These are the boys who've really, really given modern drumming. Like even Ranjit
Yeah.
sir, of course. But in my growing up years, I've heard these people more, and also try to be a percussionist yourself.
Yeah, that helps a lot. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I always joke about this. I don't know how to play the tabla, but you just change the spelling and I can play a table.
Yeah.
So I can
Yeah.
actually
For my
play a
listeners
percussion.
out there, I want to ask you what you can't play, first of all, Ashwin. Like, you can play anything.
Violin.
You can probably play the bass also, and then I won't be
I
in the
can
band.
try my hand at it, to be honest with you. But
What?
yeah, well, don't
You
ask me to
did?
do that. Yeah, I
Oh,
did. Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
I need to see you play my bass one day.
Oh, not. Yeah, well, I can. Don't embarrass me. But I do. I love the bass so much that when I program, I dedicate like an hour to do the bass programming. It
Yeah.
almost sounds like someone's actually played it. Yeah, that's how much in detail I go. Little nicks here and there, some, even the muted notes. Every single thing I do, I'm very, very careful at doing that. So I love the bass.
So then you think
I
like a bass player. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When I do that, I have to, because
Yeah.
otherwise it just sounds like one of those electronic basses which I don't like. Anyway, so
Correct. Correct.
So being able to be a percussionist, you don't have to literally be a percussionist. I mean, in my case, I have played Kanjira for a flute player in Carnatic music concert.
Right.
I have played Cajon with Purbain at NCPA, accompanying him.
What?
Literally Teental and
Wow.
camouflaging drum and bass as Teental. We did literally done that,
Wow.
and as good as much as that much I've done. So
Wow.
to be able to get to that place, so the pocket probably comes from the percussionist in me, which then gets translated to the instrument
Yeah.
and rhythmic ideas. So
Rhythmic
how
idea.
you melodically interpret them is one thing, like you just said, as a bass player, melodically
Yeah.
you have to interpret it.
Yeah.
But be strong in your rhythm will give you your melodic interpretations. It'll actually pave the way easier for you.
Yeah. And then there comes the harmonic knowledge, which is equally important.
Which you're doing anyway, with rhythm or otherwise. When you're playing with
Yeah.
two harmonies, you're playing to changes anyway. But being
Yeah.
in that rhythm, then the pocket really happens. It opens
Yeah, they
itself
go
out.
hand in hand. They both go
Totally,
hand in hand. Yeah,
totally.
totally. Yeah. Have you faced any challenges growing up?
Even if it was a challenge, I think I enjoyed myself so much that I never thought of it as a challenge.
Yeah, right. Same.
Because most of us, we find so many musicians say I've struggled a lot. I've really never struggled as such.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
my story might sound like struggle to another person, but I enjoyed
To
those
you,
days. I
it's fascinating. Yeah.
mean, as
That's
recently as a couple of years ago, an entire year I didn't have any work and there wasn't much saved up as well. But I spent all the time learning my Ableton skills. I spent all the time, literally building my skill sets up. I learned camera, I learned lighting, I learned video production. I learned a lot of things at that time. I made use of my downtime
right.
instead of, going into that depression and worrying about not having work. But
Right.
that's how life is. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, I have to mention like the amount of work that you do in AR's band is really unmatchable. Like nobody can. You are like the only one who is like multitasking so much. You're playing the keyboard. You're also, doing the effects from the Ableton, and then you're probably even doing something like you're actually playing rhythms as well, and you're
I've,
playing
I've,
the flute,
landed up,
and
I've
you're
landed up sound
singing.
checking for singers. I've landed up sound checking for
Oh my
singers.
God, yes, that too. And you're singing as well in the show and playing the flute. My God, like that's why I was like, is there something that you don't do? Oh
Violin
God.
probably.
We're towards the end of our questions. A few more, and then we'll hop onto this rapid fire round. Did you have any goals or dreams as a kid growing up?
That rapid fire round sounds like a challenge I'll going to face in my life. Okay. Sorry,
No,
what was the
it's
question
going to be
again?
very.
Sorry, I lost your question. I was so caught up with that rapid fire thing.
Have there been have you had any goals or dreams as a kid growing up?
For the longest time, I thought I used to visualize myself sitting on a stage like Shanmukhananda or a Carnegie Hall or a Royal Albert Hall, which incidentally I got to play on 5, 6 different occasions. But
And even more bigger venues, not just that.
yeah, but as a classical musician with all those flower arrangements and the white riser and a tabla player next to
Oh
you,
yes, yeah.
that vision for the longest time. But then at some point it dawned on me that because of all these how do I put it, on one hand trying to make a living and at the same time trying to discover more about music beyond classical music,
Uh-huh.
because music has a canvas itself. So I got to uh, indulge myself, if I can say that, with so
Yeah.
many different kinds, flamenco musicians, jazz musicians, Western classical orchestras around the world,
Right.
Bollywood stuff, all that we did earlier on, and even, of course, the classical music and all the others, that I felt I have to just bask in this and enjoy every day, whatever kind of music I was playing. And
Mm-hmm.
but then to answer your question precisely, that's what I had as a dream. But now I just want to be with music. I don't want it doesn't really matter to me whether I'm
Right.
working, not working, whether it's turning out to be something new. I write
Right.
some groove, I write some bass line. I just jam on it for half an hour, or I just go and do my riyaz. For me, as long as I'm playing music every
You're
day,
happy. Yeah.
I'm very happy. I don't really worry about anything after that.
Awesome. Good answer.
Thankfully, God is kind and He feeds my family. So I think if I can, there is some
Yeah.
check or the other, somebody is wanting to transfer some money into my account. Oh, you did
Oh
this
gosh.
job like 6 months ago, and I have this check for you. Like, wow, welcome, please. So,
No. Yeah. Everybody's journey is so different, and I want to know, how did you evolve as a person, and was it the same growing up to be a musician, or were there two different paths that you had to go through to find this one route that made you have a marriage between you as a person and you as a musician? Because for
I
some
don't think they
people,
would. Mhm.
sorry, because for some people it's like, they get confused down the line where you're like, they for me, for an example, I'll give you my example, which is when I was growing up, I was such an introvert, and then I started playing the bass, and I knew how much power, how much strength, and how much swag it needed to be playing the bass, which I was not, personality wise. I was not, at least that's what I thought I was not. But then slowly,
Yeah,
when I was playing, it kind of transformed me. I felt like the more
yeah,
I hung out with it, the more I spent time with my instrument, I was becoming that person,
yeah.
um, and
Mm.
I was confused at one point that, oh, what is going on? And do I want to be this person or do I want to be that? Because I am also shy at the same time, and I'm also very, very, when I'm playing my music, I feel sexy, when I'm playing
Yeah.
bass, So how was it for you?
Okay, I was an introvert too. I used to be a very shy person, but I was also a very uh, someone who was very afraid of a lot of things. And are you still hearing me?
Yeah.
Hello? Yeah. So I was a very frightened child, and I used to get bullied in
Oh,
school, and but it never consciously. You beautifully put it right now that you grew through your music. In my case, I think subconsciously my music really guided me to where I am today,
wow.
and a lot of, in fact, my personality actually is an amalgamation of a lot of people I've worked with. In fact, after I got out of Bangalore, when I was 19, I think, when I left for Mumbai,
Hmm.
and I met a few people whose personalities really rubbed off on me, and which gave me this sense of needing to be a strong person.
Right.
Until
You
then, I was
liked
very
a few elements and then you pick it up, just like music. Yeah.
unlike you, because you, in spite of being shy and introvert, you always had this "don't mess with me" attitude. Yeah, I mean, it worked for you
Oh
beautifully.
God.
I remember this. I remember this. So I used to actually, initially, I actually thought that you were very arrogant. A lot of people must have thought
I
of
think
you
a lot
like
of
that.
people think that just because I did not talk much.
But once you started blooming, it became very beautiful. Now I told you this myself. That day we were
Yeah.
having that conversation in the auto.
Yeah. Yeah.
So coming to my thing, I mean, namely, I should say, Jagjit Singh ji. I played with him for 3 years on concerts, and then I've done like a lot of session work with him. His confidence and his aura, Hariharan's ability to throw caution to the wind and trying to sing anything. He always says, that more than me, I think Ashwin knows what I'm going to sing next. That's
Right.
how much he throws caution to the wind. He starts singing, I can see his hand on the harmonium. He's like trying to hit some note, and he tries to challenge himself. On stage, he's really not performing, he's really having fun. And all of
Yes.
these things really helped me build. And then, of
Your
course, in the
persona.
last 10 odd years, Ranjit sir.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the difference between him and me, almost, we kind of, if I may dare to say that, we almost have a very similar personality deep inside our core. But
Right.
he is more of this larger than life,
Bold. Very
superstar
king-like.
personality.
Yeah.
And I'm happy being myself there. But we
Yeah.
both kind of have very similar viewpoints,
Mindset. Yeah.
mindset, if I can say that. So he actually told me this. He said, play every gig as though it's the last gig of your life.
True.
And that really opened my mind out. That night, I didn't agree with him in my mind. I thought, that's not how it works. But then it really dawned on me as to exactly what he really meant by what he said.
Yeah, and he's also very philosophical. Like every time he talks about life and everything, it informs me so much. I'm sure everybody, but like he's just like you said, larger than life. So
And there are two ways
it's
to
just
do.
beautiful to hear him out.
Yeah. Totally, totally. He's been
Yeah,
such a guide to all of
yeah,
us, actually.
to all of
There are
us.
two ways to play a last gig of your life. One is you give it your all and say, you know what, I'm going to make an impression.
Yeah,
Or you say, you know what, I don't care. I'm going to play and enjoy myself and be as truthful and honest about my music as it gets.
correct, correct.
I'm not really going to worry about whether these people are going to
I'm not
like what
setting
I'm.
any expectations for anybody.
Never.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I've always taken that route because for me,
yeah,
it's not the applause, it's not the,
correct.
it's about the totality of the music that they're listening. Because
Absolutely.
I'm only a
Feeding the
part of,
music. Yeah,
yeah, you have to be a part of
complementing
the story,
each other. Yeah,
most definitely. So that's
yeah.
what it was always about. So yeah, I
Beautiful
mean,
answer.
thank you.
Beautiful answer. Last question. When did we meet and what was our first work?
You tell me.
I was trying to remember. I think we met probably over. I think we met around the same time when we joined AR's band, right? But before that, once we were also playing with Ranjit Uncle, right, in his band.
We did, yes, those two or three shows. I don't remember us really meeting as such, but we
Yeah,
did
we were
play.
not really talking that much. We were playing, but yeah, I think we
Your
became.
your need to laugh uh, started after you started blossoming, and until such time, jokes kind of invariably either went over your head or you were not very impressed.
No,
And
no,
I
no.
have
I
seen
was just
you.
trying to, sometimes what happens, since I was aware of my age and I
Yeah.
was aware that I was playing with so many senior musicians, I just wanted to be quiet because anything I'd say which would not sound my age and probably come out, which would probably come out, some arrogantly, like you mentioned. So every time I would kind of lay myself back and be like, you know what, be careful.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it was the
But
best.
I knew of you because I have played with your dad for really long time, and
Yes, he has told me about
he
that. Yeah.
would constantly tell us about stories about his daughters and especially you. सुनना चाहिए तुम इसका वीडियो देखो तुम इसका
Yeah.
recording सुनो.
He really
And
pushed him.
yeah, and then, well, no, he didn't, he was being a father.
No, but
So
see, from a daughter point of view, or even if I was a son, I would have still said the same thing, which is in the start, it was a push, and then it became my interest, you know?
yeah, of course it was. I mean, I think he is also you've justified his cause and very, very beautifully so. He was always proud of you, and he must
Mhm.
definitely, you made him more proud. And then I think I saw you at that Prithvi thing where it was one of those
With Zakir
impromptu.
ji. Yes.
Yeah,
That was, most people don't know, but that was my first on the spot jam session.
I know,
Yeah. It
I know
was
because we
so
spoke about it
scary.
also, but
Yeah.
Ranjit sir told me. Yeah,
Yeah, it was so scary.
and then when we did those odd shows, I think you were part of one of, was it Salim Suleiman's show? Were you there?
Yes, right, right, right.
Yeah, and it was one of my odd ones there also because
Correct.
I did a brief stint with them also, and then I think we really connected during NAIT.
Through AR's band. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
when
that
we
whole
really
band, because everybody was so different, but like
yeah
coming together and we were making music and it just all brought all of us together, you know?
yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
all the
when
time
I
that we were spending, like whole days, full days.
yeah
Yeah. Well,
yeah
that was
that
an amazing interview. I hope you enjoyed because I enjoyed a lot. And
thoroughly.
it's always fun talking to you.
Yeah.
This brings me to my
And
rapid fire round, which is a 5 question rapid fire round. My first question to you, and it has to be quick, okay? If you could switch to any other profession, what would it be? Can't be related to music.
I think it would have been okay. Yeah, this is not Skype acting up. Okay, because you said it has to be quick. So yeah, I would have been a bowler because I used to be a cricket player in school.
Oh,
I represented my school as well. I would have probably been a cricketer,
oh,
more to
okay.
a yeah bowler, and
Cool.
in later stage today, if you suddenly ask me to change profession, I'll probably be a filmmaker because I'm writing scripts and I'm trying to tell stories in a different
Wow,
form.
that's great. That's amazing. Something that I didn't
Yeah.
know. uh, what annoys you the most?
Stupidity.
I kind of figured that. Uh, what is the worst compliment you've received so far?
Uh, no, none really.
Really? Like those stupid
None ever.
criticisms, something that like
No, I don't think so.
like
No,
for
no,
me, I'll
no.
give you an example. It was like you're too good to be a bass player. Like no, you're good. You're too good for a girl. Yeah,
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah. So it was like an appreciation, but like hello, you know.
Well, you should call it worst compliment, but it's a compliment all the same. I mean, they didn't mean it to be worse, but the way no, actually, I can't think of more. I really
Yeah, you
think
got
yeah,
okay.
well, I can't really think of because I take it in a good way. So I remember two, three people actually telling me. Two of them are very close friends of mine, guys. They said, you know, your music and something at the end of a rehearsal session or some studio session somewhere. This happened immediately after a session of music together. Okay,
Right. Uh-huh.
they said, "Oh my God, Ashwin, why aren't you a girl? I would have married you."
Yeah. So see, that is an appreciation, but like
It's a different
different. Yeah.
compliment. I mean, they
Yeah.
just said it in a certain way,
Yeah.
which kind of could mean,
Right.
if you
Right.
want to feel bad, you can feel bad, but it's a great thing. So,
Tell my listeners something that like a situation, you know, every musician or every artist in any form, any field, they have these situations where or like encounters with fans, you know, some encounter that you have had that stayed with you.
I only have had two or three encounters with fans so far, and the rest of them, like
That's a lie.
I no, seriously, I always pack my instrument and I'm running backstage. I don't want to really hang around there.
That
And
is
the only one occasion I can remember was this amazing BBC prom show at in London at the Roundhouse. And at the end of the gig, and that day I remember I was doing practically everything, not really doing a lot of things, but I remembered the whole everybody's parts, including the string section.
wow.
I remembered everybody's parts. So I probably had that little thing where there is this one guy on stage who really catches people's attention. And
Mhm.
at the end of the gig, I remember some of the audiences. Actually, it was one of my earliest experiences. Oh no, this was at Jazz Cafe. Before that, this was a Jazz Cafe again, London.
Okay.
And I was just, I grabbed a drink, and at those days, you could have a drink after the show, and there was this
Yeah.
before the DJ came on
Right.
at the
Hmm.
half an
Yeah.
hour gap. And this girl came up to me and she said, "Excuse me, oh my God, you've sung so beautifully and you played so beautifully. Can I? Do you mind?" And I had my friend stand with me. Okay,
Okay.
it was Nitin's then manager was standing.
Okay.
Sumit was with us,
Yeah.
and we were having a drink together. And just chatting about whatever happened this evening. And she came. She said, "Do you mind if I just give you a kiss?" I didn't know. I didn't know how to respond to it because I wasn't even so exposed to the whole world. And so I just looked at Sumit. I said, "Did she really say what I just heard?" He's like,
Oh
"I think you
God.
should ask him. You should ask him." And I think he's a little shy. And he started, making fun of me at that point. He said,
That's
and
really
then, dude,
hilarious.
he
That's
goes, "Dude,
hilarious.
you know what? You're being, she's offering to kiss you. And it's a lovely compliment. You should take it." So I didn't know what to do. And by the time I realized what really happened, and because Sumit had said, "It's a lovely compliment, you should take it," she actually pecked me on my cheek.
You ended up taking it.
Yeah, and she
Too
said,
good.
"Thank you," and she ran away.
Damn good. Too good.
And this was like I was so shocked first of all, and I didn't know. I mean, this thing doesn't happen in India.
Right, right.
And that was one of my earlier tours abroad. And the other time was at Roundhouse where
I mean, it
a lot
happens
of
in
people
rock
asked,
concerts. Yeah, rock concerts.
it
It
happens
happens.
a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah.
And that night at Jazz Cafe was quite rocked out, if I can say that. It wasn't
Okay.
rock music as such, but it was quite rocked out because it was cooking and how.
Right.
And with all that flamenco and dance music and the jazz-based interpretations, Indian interpretations, I'm doing this sargam, fast sargams. It kind of, oh, hello, boy. Is that a boy?
It's good.
Chagoy? Oh my God. Oh, I'm coming there. I don't
Come,
care about lockdown. I'm gonna come and meet them.
come, come. So
Is that
yeah,
it?
yeah,
Rapid.
yeah. Last one. Tell my
Okay.
listeners something that the whole world don't know about you.
Uh, a lot of things actually. I can say
Tell us one.
whole world doesn't know about me.
Hmm.
They're not personal things, but
No, like like some habit or something that you do on a daily basis or something.
very lazy guy.
No, you're not.
I'm extremely lazy as opposed to
You're
what
always
seems
working.
on the outside. Oh, I love to sleep. I
Okay.
love to
Yeah.
sleep. Okay, this is the other thing. This is the other thing. If I can say it this way, I love driving, so I take
Yes.
off on solo drives at least twice a year
Yes.
to any part of the country which my car wants to take me, and I just start driving and undecidedly get to a place which can surprise me. So
That is
that is
true.
something
That
to
is
do.
true. That is true. Amazing. Great. We're done with the interview. Once again, thank you so much, Ashwin, for coming on my show.
Thank
It was an honor to have
thank
you.